Hey guys, how is it going? All right, I haven't recorded in a while, usual excuses. I've been thinking about Magic quite a bit. Haven't really been playing or thinking too much about Commander due to the topical reasons related to old school Magic. I was actually traveling in Europe a couple of weeks ago to go and play in NoobCon 11, which is a Swedish rules invitational / qualifier championship for Europe, using the old school 93-94 list up through the dark. That's an entirely different story, but that's one of the reasons why I haven't been focusing on Commander too much. But it still has always been in the back of my head, and occasionally I'll fire up Magic Online and play some games. And I just logged in to play one or two games, selected my Nin deck because it was the first thing that just popped up, and had an absolutely insane game where the replay works. So you guys are in for a treat. Buckle up. Here we go. I really wish Magic Online had the ability to select a random deck. That would be kind of nice. You could just give it a pool of decks that you want to use, and it picks one for you at random. So I'm up against this guy, Rashachu Fu Manchu, and he is using Brago, King Eternal, which seems kind of an innocuous commander. I have had a lot of problems with this guy. He's sort of like Grand Arbiter Augustin. If they draw fast mana, they can start doing really degenerate things quickly, and the 4 toughness is problematic, and obviously they're playing with counter magic usually, and I'm with the Epiphanous Nin. Opening hand here. I haven't made any changes to my deck in quite a while. I don't think anything has come along in the last few sets to really make any adjustments to it. And obviously this is not a keepable hand. They made some red-blue planeswalkers and stuff, but none of them really fit the Nin archetype very well. He's keeping his hand. I have to throw this one back for 6, and this hand is as unplayable as the first hand, maybe even less so because it just has a mountain. So regretfully going down to 5, and this is a perfectly keepable hand. Does have Strip Mine to slow him down, maybe keep him off white. Does have turn 3 Karn, Sign of Urza. A very, very uncastable Chandra, Torch Defiance, but hopefully I can just draw into red mana. There's that Amnesia back from my, I think, opening hand, certainly going to the bottom. Here we go. It's interesting, actually, that Magic Online now uses the new London Mulligan rule, but not Commander. I think that they need to make that law of the land, although obviously it's very, very abusive in Commander, I think, because of how powerful Crypt and Sol Ring are. The ability to always have a 7-card hand to go and try to fetch those 2 artifacts might screw the format up. So perhaps it's actually in our best interest that you use regular Paris Mulligan rules. All right. He's kicking it off with Irrigated Farmland. Perfectly reasonable land to play. All right. I'm going to move my mouse away here so that it isn't too clicky. All right, Worn Power Stone. That's super awesome, actually, because I can cast that turn 2 and have Karn plus potential counter to spare on turn 3. All right, 2 mana Thought Vessel. All right, well, this is certainly representing the turn 3 Brago. And unless I draw something that I really, really need to cast this turn, I'm almost certainly strip mining. Yeah, and I don't really see the reason. I did draw a red mana source, which is quite nice. I could play Nin, but letting Brago run roughshod over you is usually a bad strategy. I could play the Arid Mesa, play Nin, and then hope to draw into a second red source in order to cast Chandra to burn away the Brago before it gets out of control. But I decide that I'm going to go just with the LD route and hope that, cross my fingers and just hope he doesn't have white mana for a few turns. It's wishful thinking, of course, because he didn't even have to mulligan, and sure enough, there's a Plains right off the top, and then a Mana Vault. Oh, that's nasty. All right, so Brago's out already, and Brago plus Mana Vault is just a disgusting combo. It's like Tezzeret Mana Vault. You can use it twice a turn as well as the Thought Vessel. All right, falling into a deep hole already here. I need to draw something really good and really quickly. Ponder. Ponder's nice, but unfortunately I don't have the luxury. I'm going to have to just play Karn here and try to just bait him attacking into Karn while I use it to draw cards. Maybe in an effort to just stall the inevitable here. I'm going to play the Power Stone in preparation for that. I do have enough mana that if I draw a 2-mana counter, I can play the Arid Mesa and protect the Karn next turn. But now I got to weather the storm here and dodge some seriously nasty potential plays. And he's got Sol Ring on top of that too. And he has Disenchant from my Worn Power Stone. So this is no big deal. Just, you know, like 9 mana to 3 right now or something. Actually, it's more than 9. He has 9 potentially untapped at the start of his turn. And then an additional 5, 13 mana to 3. The only saving grace here is that he's got 2 cards in hand. And kind of like the way that Omnath is, Brago is one of those commanders, and honestly Grand Arbiter as well, that you can get these crazy brutal starts, but if you don't draw support to go with your fast starts, you can often wind up just card dead and flooded and unable to really do anything to close out the game, which is one of the reasons why I've always favored these card advantage-based commanders. Of course, I'm sure the Brago deck has a whole bunch of card drawing mechanisms built into the commander's triggered ability. It just doesn't happen to have any on hand right now. All right, to play the Arid Mesa, I drew Fabricate. Now that's really, really important here. I already have 2 blue mana sources once Arid Mesa fetches a Volcanic, and this thing only has 2 power, so Shackles gives me a sort of a long-term answer to Brago before maybe it gets out of control. I just have to hope that those 2 last cards in his hand are mediocre. But for the time being, I'm actually just going to do a quick counter magic check. I did notice that he played the Hallowed Fountain untapped, which to me signals at least some kind of counter magic, so I'm going to play, before I play anything really vital like the Chandra or the Fabricate, I'm going to run out the Karn and see if maybe he's got some kind of counter magic for this. I see him tap blue, and sure enough, Arcane Denial. All right, well, I'm not terribly unhappy to see that, given the fact that it does draw me 2 extra cards and could easily draw me into red mana. The problem with red is that even if I burn away the Brago, he has so much mana already that he can cast Brago 2 additional times, trivially, without me being able to do anything. That's just not a sound strategy. All right, I draw 2, and I get a land. Very nice. There's a second red source, and Metamorph, which gives me a blocker for Brago. What's he up to? Heuristic Study. God, I hate this card. It's just one of those like swingy luck-based cards that's sometimes just so backbreaking if you draw it early and so horrible if you draw it late game. Maybe I just don't respect it enough because it always gives me fits every time I play it. I just can't bring myself to put it in any of my decks unless I play multiplayer. In multiplayer, it's great. Not as good as Mystic Remora, but still very powerful. And he's tapping some more mana, and Venser the Sojourner comes out. That is awful for me. Holy crap, that's so bad. I have no way to interact with this thing at all. Like nothing short of being able to copy his Brago and somehow attack through to stop it. And this thing builds up counters so fast. It's already at 5. And he gets his Mana Vault and Soul Ring back. And untaps his mana. He's just completely untapped. His mana production is just disgusting. It's like 14 a turn. Okay. Mountain. Not bad. I'm going to go fetch another blue-red. So the question is, what to do here? He has no cards in hand. This is a pretty good opportunity to copy the Brago and represent just attacking back. That prevents him from attacking. Then on the following turn, I can play Chandra and burn it down. But I decide that I'd rather just play the Chandra Torch of Defiance right now, get it on the board, burn away the Brago, and just keep him busy recasting his commander for a little while I get some more counters onto the Chandra. Because I can always just copy it next turn, buff up the Chandra, and then use Chandra to make mana to get Fabricate Shackles to steal away his Brago and kill it that way. So this is just a stall tactic. It may not have been correct in retrospect, but I feel that just using my own Brago to defend against his leaves me open to so much nasty stuff that I could just lose the game on the spot. It's harder for him to deal with a Planeswalker when he has no creatures out. Of course, he can... Oh, and he's got Grand Arbiter Augustin. Good lord. All right, that's really insanely nasty with Heuristic Study. Everything's got attacks of 2 on it. 1 mandatory and 1 optional, and now Brago's out again. And he's up to 7 counters. This game's looking hopeless. I'm already down to 16, too. And I'm going to need to use that Ancient Tomb a lot more. All right, I got to draw something good. Fire Ice. Well, not the worst thing in the world, I suppose. So I make 2 mana. I'm going to play my Mountain here and pay both the Heuristic Study tax and the Grand Arbiter tax. And 2 more life, down to 12. Now it's time to copy Brago. I don't really have a way to protect Chandra, short of doing something really, really reckless, I think. So it'll kind of depend on what he does. He plays a land before he attacks. I think that's awful. You got to just... I mean, at this stage in the game, don't give me the information. Give me perfect info that you don't have an incredible follow-up, because I might do crazy things during my attack step to protect Chandra, in which case you might have a follow-up that I need to counter. And he doesn't do either of those things. He just plays the land immediately. So it goes to his combat step. And I think long and hard here. You'll see a lot of time go off my clock here. It's 19 minutes right now. I think I spent a full minute or so thinking about the options. So I have options. I can pay 3 mana, paying the... can't pay the Heuristic Study tax. It does allow him to draw, but I can tap down one of his things. I can basically tap down Brago. That prevents him from killing off Chandra with Grand Arbiter Augustine. However, Chandra or Venser will go up to 9, and he can flicker his Brago and put it right back into play. And now it's a blocker against my Brago, and I won't have the ability to remove 2 counters off Venser. And he'll ultimate it, and then the game will be absolutely over. There's really no beating that emblem unless you're so far ahead that they can't possibly get their way back into the game. So with that in mind, I have to kind of get him to commit both attacks to Chandra here. And because Brago has to hit Chandra, and I can block here, he won't be able to trigger it, and he won't be able to flicker the Brago. So I ultimately decide to do that, let him attack with both. I mean, this is just super desperate measures here. They are, of course, both going at Chandra. So Chandra dies, which is regrettable. And then post-combat, he does this very interesting play where he goes to flicker his Grand Arbiter Augustin. I'm not sure I agree with this play at all. I mean, what's really the purpose of doing that? It can't block. And he needs Brago to block my Brago to prevent him from me from hitting his Venser. So I was counting on doing that. When he does this, then sure, I'm going to fire away Grand Arbiter Augustin for 1 damage and hit Venser for 1, even though that means that he does get to draw a card. He does not draw a counter, which is nice. So now I can attack unheated, and he's got just a talisman. Just continue to give me more perfect info. All right. Venser at 8. Tick-tock. All right, I really just need to draw land right now. Oh, rewind. Okay, well, that's not the worst thing in the world, but I do not have any time here at all because I can attack 1 time, and then Venser's going to go back to 8, and he'll have a defender. So the rewind's not going to do much. I got to be proactive. So if I'm going to attack first. That's a no-brainer. And I'm going to cast Ponder. And I'm going to cast Ponder here just so I can have the Fabricate or the rewind for an emergency. And I'm planning to basically just put a land out there so I can rewind and pay the heuristic study tax. And I get Soul Ring on top. Oh my god, so good. All right. Well, Soul Ring's going to go on top there. I'll gladly pay a life and the heuristic study tax. And now I'm going to tap out because, again, I got to be proactive and just hope he doesn't draw anything off the top here. And of course, I'm getting Vidalcan Shackles. That's a no-brainer as well. I'm not going to even give you guys a moment to think about it since that's really the only choice. All right. Back to his turn. Yeah, you can see 2 minutes went by on that attack step before. So he exiles an island, which to me is clearly an example of... I don't understand why he wouldn't just attack me. He could attack into me, hit me for 2, and then ripple his Brago to untap it. In fact, any number of target non-land permanents you control. Can't he just ripple his own Brago so that it has vigilance? That's weird. And he knows that I have Shackles in play. I feel like this guy, plays his own deck and doesn't really fully understand it all that well. But that's how you win, potentially, against crazy draws like this when you double mulligan, going second. All right, Island's really nice too, actually, because that gives me a little bit more leeway on the heuristic study. So I'm going to pay the Shackles here. And I decide that if you look at the way the math works out here, it's so vital that I'm able to protect the Shackles. I mean, literally the game is hinging on Shackles resolving and activating this turn. So I have to keep the opportunity to rewind at all costs. I do not have the option here. So that means I have to let him draw a card with heuristic study and just gamble that I don't have to fight over it. And obviously if I did have to fight over the Shackles, I would rewind and let him draw another card because I need to keep these 2 mana available. So Shackles comes down. Obviously, I just grab his Brago. Be very careful to click and kill the right one. And look at this. 2 cards in hand, but now my guy is attacking his Venser, and he does not have a way to block it anymore. Oh, and he Mystical Tutors during end step. All right, well, what does he get? Whir of Invention. Weird. Okay. And then he plays Fabricate. So that had to have been the card that he drew off heuristic study, which makes the Whir of Invention, or the Mystical Tutor for Whir of Invention, so strange to me when he had a Fabricate in hand. I mean, he must have had this card in hand because we know what he drew. So he's getting Fabricate. And I figured, well, he's going to go get Vidalcan Shackles, right? He must be playing it. He's got tons of islands. And of course, I'm going to have to rewind and let him draw a card and hope he doesn't have a counterspell. But he gets Batterskull with his thing, and Batterskull is like completely irrelevant as far as I can tell. So yeah, I've got 4 islands sitting in play and Shackles. Does he not know how Shackles even works? I mean, maybe he's thinking he can play this and then he can use the Batterskull to equip to his commander and keep the commander's power out of reach of my shackles. Maybe that's his idea. I don't really know, but either way, when I see him do this and not getting something that directly interferes with Brago, I am massively relieved. So Mana Vault untaps. Obviously untap my shackles. Island, actually quite nice. So one thing I love about the Nin deck is that because of the nature of the deck, it's so mana hungry, and because of the way the commander works, you're often not unhappy to Mana Flood, because Mana Flood just means more cards. Just one of the things that's so good about this deck. All right, Brago swinging into Venser, take it down to 6. And now it's Nin time. Certainly pay the Ristic Study tax. I know what he's got in his hand, so I know that this is safe for the time being. So he's tapping some mana. All right. So I fully expected to see the Whir of Invention for 3 here for Shackles, but then I see it for 2. And it was so baffling that I was compelled to go look at my list of 2-mana artifacts in my in my deck builder online to try to figure out what the hell he could be getting. And I think there's that Spyglass that's sort of like Pithing Needle. That's a possibility. I also thought about Umezawa's Jitte, although I don't care about that very much because Umezawa's Jitte, I can just steal the germ and prevent him from actually equipping it. But I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I realized, you know what? There's too many things here that just wreck me. If he does get the Spyglass, I'm going to bring this up real quick here. You have to forgive me for this. Yeah, forget it. I'll get back to the game. I think the Spyglass costs 2 mana, and if you were to get the Spyglass and prevent me from using Nin the Pain Artist, then that would be really bad. So there probably are some other 2-mana artifacts I'm not thinking of, Winter Orb among them, although I don't imagine that he would get Winter Orb by tapping 3 land to go get it. So I'm not really sure what he'd get, but I decide after a long thought that I don't know his deck well enough, and there might be some artifact that I could just miss, and I can't afford to not get a Nin activation off, so I ultimately decide I need to rewind this. I get to untap a land, not pay any tomb damage. So the germ comes in, and of course I'm just going to snag it. And then post-combat he does this rather clever thing because it's anything you own, not you control. So he's able to bounce his Batterskull and get it back, but that's not the end of the world. And then he plays Land Tax. That was the card that he drew a turn ago, I guess, or off the Ristic Study. All right then, end of turn. That's right, I can't really do anything yet because Nin is not active. All right, untap the Shackles. It's time for some action. Memory lapse. Awesome. All right. I think here I actually make a mistake. I'm not sure what I was thinking here. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to pay the 2 mana anyway, but this allows him to pay 3 mana on his turn to return Batterskull to his hand rather than on my turn to return Batterskull rather than doing it on his turn. So it makes a very small difference. He does have a ton of mana in play, but it was definitely a mistake to do that right there, given the fact that the Batterskull is not going to block anyway. I think I was just thinking I'm going to grab the germ token and then have the ability to shoot it if he tries to do any shenanigans with that. But of course, that's all instant speed stuff anyway, and I can do it in response to his thing. So it was a mistake to grab here, and he does the right thing by immediately paying 3 mana to return the Batterskull. So that fizzles. It's not the end of the world, though. I'm going to attack here into his Venser. So now he gets the Land Tax. All right, he's tapping some mana. I see 6, and I'm thinking, oh, man, maybe he's going to play his Brago now that my Vidalcan Shackles are tapped, and then play the Germ as well. Consecrated Sphinx. Oh, that is such a punish for tapping my Shackles. Really, really bad play. So, of course, I have to memory lapse this. And there's a range of things I could probably do here. Like I could grab it during upkeep and stuff, but I decide that I'm gonna make him redraw it, and plus he has Land Tax in play, and he might be not careful, and he might tax away the Consecrated Sphinx. The lapse is not really that valuable of a counterspell since we're not doing counter wars anyway. So Batterskull comes down again. He bounces the Mana Vault, and I think he's just got 2 land in play, or in hand. At the end of the turn, Nin's going to do what Nin does, draw 3 off a 4 health creature, down to 6. Come on, deck. Deep sigh. Remember what I said about how mana flooding is cool? It's not cool anymore. 2 land and a signet. All right, that's really punishing, actually. I was expecting a lot better, but at least I do have another activation, and I can untap the shackles, too. Okay. I know what he has on top of his deck, and I just get a Gilded Lotus. All right, well, I'm going to play that land, just an island here. Life is Precious. Attack an Adventure to still keep it off of 8. Play an island, and at least I know, I mean, unless he land taxes, I know exactly what's in his hand and the top of his deck, so we have him completely contained here, and believe me, Consecrated Sphinx does him no good. He should absolutely tax it away. And then he doesn't do it. I'm not normally this critical of my opponent's plays, but I feel like not only did he have such an insane start, but he kind of bungled this game in a number of different ways. I think his choices were dubious. So he plays Consecrated Sphinx. I am overjoyed to see that, because that thing does not have Batterskull ability. All right, what's he going to do? He attacks me with the token? What are you doing, man? That's insane. I mean, why would you even play the Consecrated Sphinx in the first place? Because now I've got 6 in the air to attack into Venser, but this attack with the Batterskull is just the worst. All right, grab, block. He does gain 4, and then he goes to exile his Consecrated Sphinx, and of course, Nin's really going to unload on that. Look at this. Holy moly. 7. Yeah, I entertained the notion, actually, of grabbing the Consecrated Sphinx and then shooting his Batterskull for 4. But he would have had the ability to bounce it in response, would have ruined that plan. But that would have been pretty cool, because I could have kept the Sphinx and drawn 8 cards as well. Actually, it would have been for more. It would have been for 14, because it's whatever X is equal to, and it would have been doubled, because he would have drawn the cards, and then I would have gotten them instead. Actually, no, wait. He still gets them. All right, that's insane. I'm glad I didn't even think about doing that. It would have been too clever for my own good. He would have drawn 7. I would have drawn 14, and that would have been terrible. So anyway, I draw 7 off the corpse of his Sphinx. And I get Trinket Mage, Thought Vessel, Baral, Rift, Brainstorm, Rolling Earthquake, Wayfarer's Bauble. There's no counters in here, but he doesn't know that, and this is so good anyway. The Rift solves the Venser problem. I've got Baral. I have got Brainstorm, this thing to go get Divining Top. It's just an all-around amazing hand. So he exiles something and thinks about it, and before I even get to untap and draw my final card, he scoops it up with a victory. Unbelievable game. I was so relieved and overjoyed to win this game, particularly after how bleak things looked at the beginning, how fast his start was, and he had so much mana, but it was just one of those classic games where Brago does a few Brago things, but it doesn't do the important Brago things, and it just kind of stalls out, and I was able to make a lot of kind of careful and calculated choices about what to sacrifice and what order to cast things, get the most important things into play, steal his guy at the right time, and keep that pesky Venser below an ultimate the entire game until I was able to stabilize and use Nin to win. And that is quintessential control right there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this game. It was a real pleasure to play, and I'm so glad the replay cooperated. I will see you later.